So let me start, Mr. Mayor, if I can, with the positivity rate in your county that has gone from 12% in mid-June to nearly 20% now. What happened?
Well, actually, it went from 8% to over 20%. So it's actually worse. We saw a big spike in young people around the middle of June, and we feel that what happened, you got to go back 2 weeks before that. At Memorial Day, you had some of the demonstrations, you had some of the openings. I think that the young people, like that story you had about Tulane having parties, et cetera, that we were seeing here in Miami-Dade County, and sleepovers. And so this really was driven by young people going back to being young people. And partying and getting together, and it started to spread really fast among the young, and then it started to spread obviously with their parents and their grandparents. And so that's what we believe happened. People were not abiding by the rules that we had set up. We had opened up the economy with some pretty strict set of rules, but unfortunately a lot of people disregarded those rules, and we're seeing the consequences of it.
Yes, so that leaves you with some tough decisions. Earlier this week, you announced gyms would have to close down, as Katie just pointed out. Then you reversed that decision, said they could stay open. The Miami Herald also reports you were going to limit restaurants to just delivery and takeout, but then opted to let outdoor dining continue. Why? Help us to understand the process of thinking.
Well, look, the decisions that we make here are made with our doctors. And when I sat down with our doctors, they felt that we should do X, Y, Z. And then we sat down with the doctors and the industry and said, can we do this, not quite so drastically? And we all agreed that we could. Outdoor dining is fine. That's what they're doing in other states too, like California, New York, and even in Europe. And then with the gyms, we said, look, gyms are also allowed to operate indoors when they were exercising without a mask. We said, no, we're going to eliminate that, because the use of masks is the number one thing that we can do in order to combat the rise in this virus. And so now it's really consistent. Every interior space, you have to wear a mask. Outside, you have to wear a mask unless you're actually exercising, and then you must maintain a distance of 10 feet. And so it's pretty simple rules that we need to follow. We wash our hands, don't touch our face with our hands, and if we do that, if we all do that, and if we keep our social distance, then we can start to drive down this virus. Unfortunately, some people are not listening to it. People are still going out, they're still socializing, they're still getting together with people that are maybe friends, but with the high degree of positivity that we have here in this county, you're more than likely to encounter somebody who has COVID-19, doesn't even know they have it, and it's spreading into other people. That's why we need to keep our masks on, keep our distance, follow the rules.
Understanding that, Mr. Mayor, there are critics who say that part of the problem is that there has been inconsistent messaging. The mayor of the city of Miami tweeted this, quote, "The county order caught everyone by surprise. Our communities need a clear strategy for a sustainable path to recovery. The decision-making process should be transparent and driven by facts, not impulses. All leaders must communicate and collaborate more." So let me get your response to that, because is the net effect of any back and forth to further confuse your residents who are looking for clear, consistent guidance on what the right thing to do is?
Look, I believe that the right thing to do is the right thing to do. And so the first message was we're going to do X, and then we changed our mind because I thought that was the right thing to do. We don't do that often. It was the first time really we've done that. As far as communicating in a process, we have a very clear process of how we do it. We communicate 3 times a week with the League of Cities. They're part of the process. Our doctors are part of the process. We have meetings all the time about what it is that we're going to do. We have, the gating criteria, and we've exceeded those gating criteria. And I was very clear when we started opening up, and they asked me, hey, could we ever go back? It's not something that I want to do, but it's something that we have to do if, in order to, tamp down the rate of infection here in Miami-Dade County. We have a very clear process. The problem is that the mayor of the city of Miami doesn't participate in that process, which he could, but he doesn't. And he's also led to a lot of the confusion by issuing different orders than the ones that were issued by Miami-Dade County. That's not the confusion I caused.
How do you fix that? How do you fix that? How do you fix that? Because
the problem is the way that it works here in Miami-Dade County sets the bar, all right? And then cities can do something stricter than what Miami-Dade does, all right? That's up to them. That's part of the way we operate here. But remember, the city of Miami is only 15% of what you all know as Miami, all right? And so I'm the county mayor. I'm the strong mayor of the entire county. But some cities have the right to put more strict measures. And when they start to do that, then it starts to create confusion because, hey, am I in Miami Beach or am I in Miami or am I in Coral Gables or am I somewhere here? What are the rules there? The good news is that the vast majority of the cities in this town do follow the county rules, and we work together very closely, but there are some that don't, and it is their right to do so under our charter.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.